We will go ahead and get started. Welcome to all of our attendees for this week's Mingle Mastermind. We're talking with something very near and dear to my heart, which is how to build a local fashion community. And in addition to our regular panelists from New York City who have a ton of experience working in the fashion industry in New York City, we also have Thomas McClure, who's the founder of Columbus Fashion Council. Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you.
Thomas.
Thanks for
Hello,
joining
everybody.
I can't wait to hear about Columbus Fashion Week.
Yes. Yeah, I know you guys just had a great event. And
We
then
did.
Britta Cabanos from Inside Fashion Design and co-founder of Creative Capital Design. And you're also working on an upcoming event as well, huh, Britta?
Yes, a lot going on here.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
can share more about that with everyone whenever.
Yeah, sure. And then we've also got Samuel Alexander, who is the founder and CEO of Concept to Conception, and works in fashion and technology.
Consumption.
Okay. And you're in Austin, Texas, which has a blends high tech, creative fashion, education, and so you really come at it from a perspective of really getting involved in the local economy. So thank you to our special guests today. And we have Kat Schuller. Hi, Kat. You want to say
Hi.
anything new going on?
Yeah, well, we just came off of Vogue the Vote on Sunday with Melange, which is a diversity platform production company, and we just did a video, social distancing, and did it on the pier and then went to the stairs. It was really quite, being on the stairs of Times Square. I can appreciate what you had to go through, Melissa.
Oh, you guys did it at Times Square.
Yeah, we vogued the vote. We got it out, and it was just a great event. And we're just going through thousands of video, pictures, and just putting it all together. But yeah, we did that on Sunday.
Awesome. That sounds exciting. And so Sharon is on vacation, but joining us from, are you still in Montenegro?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't call it a vacation. I'm working from wherever.
Okay. That's the kind of vacations I have.
Yes, and I have the benefit of being 6 hours ahead, so I have an extra few hours of work to put in too. So it's
I always love that. I lived for a year in Germany, and I would love the fact that I could work all day, and then like my clients would like show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd be like, oh yeah, I got all your work done.
Right.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to bed.
Exactly. No more scrambling for those morning meetings. Yes.
Exactly.
Happy to be here as always and looking forward to hearing everyone's input. And I just want to say, first and foremost, I don't think any of us would be here if it wasn't for Fashion Mingle. And that is the ultimate fashion online community, and it has brought us all together. And I'm really thankful for that because everything has spawned from that. So hats off to you and Beth, Melissa, for putting this all together.
Well, thank you so much. And it really means a lot to me to have you and Sharon and Dell here with us almost every week. So Dell is actually in her modeling agency right now. They've got a casting going on. That's super exciting because that feels like real business getting done.
It's the slightest bit of normalcy we've had in a while, and we're really excited. So we're social distancing. We're using all the offices and all the spaces and keeping distance. And I have all my masks and wearing them when other people, but no one is in the room right now. And we're sharing our space with other people as well. We had a photo shoot yesterday. So we love community. I agree with what Sharon said. Fashion Mingle is absolutely phenomenal. And I've met so many great people through it for work and for friendship, and everyone's there to help each other, and whatever you need, you can lean on us and ask us questions. And if you need something, we'll all try and help. I found that everyone's really altruistic and generous with their time and their knowledge and whatever, you know, we have. So we at True Model Management are really, for the most part, working remotely, but we come in for special occasions, special photo shoots, castings like today. And if anyone else wants to share the space with us, we would welcome you. So feel free to contact me. Thank
That's
you,
good
Melissa.
to know.
Yep, that's what's so wonderful about the New York fashion industry is it's so collaborative. I actually got the idea for Fashion Mingle when I was living in Austin. And so Samuel and I actually never met when I lived in Austin, but I did live in Austin for 20 years. And, you know, when you're in Austin, it's such an entrepreneurial hub. Everybody's always thinking about the next thing. You're always thinking about what can you create. It's just you know, and all in tech. And so I was in web development, marketing, all that. I had freelance clients and everything, and I actually just met somebody in the fashion industry, and they told me about how difficult it was to actually, you know, have a successful fashion business. And, you know, I found that really interesting because I was working with small and medium-sized businesses on their marketing, just traditional, I mean, from dentists to forklifts to pediatricians, you know, I worked on with any kind of company. So I had a real broad understanding of like, this is how you do it, you know? And so it was surprising to me to learn that the fashion industry actually had a very difficult time. And so as I got to know more people in the Austin fashion industry, I just fell in love with all their creativity. And that's what I realized was that they're so creative that they didn't want to put the time into the marketing because that's just not who they were. They're creatives. So I set about trying to figure out how I could use the skills and the experience I had learned to help the fashion industry. And that's how I came to the idea of doing the local fashion directories, because I knew in Austin that finding the resources you need for your business was all word of mouth. And, you know, I would meet someone who, you know, had started a business and they maybe, you know, needed help with it, but they just didn't have they didn't know who to go to. And I was like, well, there's, you know, people are doing directories in every industry. Why doesn't fashion have one? So since I had experience with working on web development projects, I built one for Austin. And this was like all the way back in 2010. And it grew really rapidly for a couple of years. And then when everything came, then I started moving all over the world, unfortunately. And then with my husband's job. And then also mobile happened. So the website, that the directory didn't work anymore on mobile. And so I just took it down. And then when we got settled in New York in 2012, I started thinking about building a global platform. And so that's how I came into working in the local fashion industry. Samuel, I'd love to hear your story because you come at it from Austin from an entirely different perspective. You actually are very active in education, very active in the economic development. Tell us how you became active in Austin's fashion industry.
Well, actually, I moved back here because my mother had a heart attack, but I've been in the fashion industry for the last 40 years. And companies like, I started with Levi Strauss, Gloria Vanderbilt, Jones New York. I can go through the list of all the major companies that I've worked for here and in Europe and South America. When I moved to Austin, I was in the midst of going through a divorce and I had to start over again. And so while I was here, I got tied into the fashion industry by accident. One of the high schools had a fashion academy here, and I'm in an academy, private school, and they wanted to create a fashion incubator. So I worked with a lady here, and she was had already started the incubator. And so this incubator now has gone from when we started with 3 designers, we had 30 designers in our last high school incubator. And 3 of the kids that we have got, like I was telling you last week, they got full scholarships to Parsons, New York. And some of the models were picked up by New York agencies. So we're building a foundation, and what we're looking at is tri-sector. And tri-sector means we get government, private industry, and government, private industry, and education to work together. And our first project we finished in January, and it was the Austin Fashion Incubator at ACC. Gerber partnered with me on that. They gave us over $13 million to build out an advanced manufacturing facility. So we have one of the first advanced manufacturing facilities here in Austin. And it's basically we're looking at wovens. And what we're doing is dual credit for the high school kids from 9th to 12th grade. They can attend ACC and do their dual credit and actually graduate from high school and junior college at the same time. Then we're working on a second location, and we've got 600 acres that we've been given to start a new school, and it'll be a 2-year school. And we've already got a new degree that we'll be implementing. It's already been approved by the state. It's fashion technology engineering. And that's already been approved. And we're going to be working with another company out of Germany, which I can't say right now. And the school that we're working with is one of the top schools here in the state. But the project we were supposed to have finished this year, but because of the virus, we've had to hold back on going through with everything. But it will be a complete knitting school. And it'll be based on all of the knitting processes from the top 2 knitting companies in the world. So we have Gerber for the wovens on the front side, and we're doing the knitting on the back side. So you'll have a complete education from beginning to end in the actual production and manufacturing of products. We're also integrating all of the technology into the systems. The advanced manufacturing facility is completely all the new technologies, from laser cutters to all of the 3D software where you can take a flat file and turn it into a 3D file. We have avatars that you can actually wrap the file on the avatar and create the markers for the plotters. All that stuff is completely lined out. We have in the ACC incubator, we have 20 spots for new designers that we're taking on each period. I'm pretty much out of that part of it now because once it's up and going, I move to the next thing. And right now we're trying to finish up the last part of this with the bachelor's degree. So you'll be able to get an associate's degree and then a bachelor's degree in fashion and technology.
That's amazing. That's so fantastic to come opportunity, because I know that there's so much love for fashion in Austin, and so many young people go away to college to learn those skills, and then they never actually come back to Austin. So it's exciting that there's going to be opportunities right there. And so tell us how COVID has impacted the Austin fashion community.
Basically, what we've done, not just in Austin, but I worked with IPC, and we helped a lot of the factories to integrate their production into PPE. So most of the factories, even here in Austin and throughout the country, are producing PPE now. They are producing surgical gowns and masks. And the most fashionable item in the country right now is a mask. So it's a fashion statement. It's the only fashionable item out there. Right now, until we get through this election, I can't tell you anything that's going to happen. And everybody's kind of on hold until we get through this election and make it into the next year. We're going to have to change. There's nothing going to ever be the same again. And it's all going to be about collaboration. And our focus right now is decentralized collaboration and rebuilding an industry from the ground up. If you really look at our industry, we lost 42,000 retailers in the last 2.5 years. I have these young guys come to me with their designs and their work, and I'm like, okay, so when you make this product, who are you going to sell it to? There's not the retail business. And when I say 42,000 retailers, I'm not talking about the smaller, especially retailers. I'm talking about the major guys that are gone. And so our whole industry is being retooled now completely from the ground up. And we have the advantage now of reshoring. And our whole purpose is to reshore and focus in on a circular economy with sustainability. So it's all about safety and comfort as we move forward. And those are going to be the two focuses on how we move forward with the new productions on safety and comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And we're integrating all kinds of things into our products now. So it won't be just the fashion that everyone knows now. We have fibers that can either adjust to heat and cold. We have fibers that actually harvest heat from your body and turn it into infrared, and then redirects it back into your skin to increase your red blood flow. We have fibers that are antibacterial, antiviral. We have all kinds of fibers that we're integrating into the products now. And with the Trisector, we have the opportunity to bring major companies in and help them to develop their ideas. So I work with a lot of engineers now, more so than I do production people. And our engineers bring the ideas to us, and then we incorporate them into the wearables.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now, Thomas, you're from Columbus, and I know you're very, very active in the independent fashion industry, but Columbus is actually known for having a really big corporate fashion industry. Just describe to us what's going on in Columbus on both ends of that spectrum.
Sure. So yeah, so Columbus does have a lot of, retail hubs here. Express, A&F, Lane Bryant, even DSW's here, and a couple of our board members do work for some of these retailers, such as, one of them I can't name, but you can go to the website and find out. And anyhow, through just his own, knowledge of the retail industry, they're all hurting. Everyone's hurting, they all have brick and mortar, and that brick and mortar is costing a lot of money. And they have seen an increase in online sales. So that's what's kind of happening in the retail sector here. As far as the other fashion industry sector here of the designers that we have here in Columbus is, they too have been affected by COVID in the sense of, like, I'll give you an example. One of our designers, Gerardo Encinas, he started designing about 5 years ago and has come so far. And he started designing, and getting picked up actually, first of all, by Opera Columbus, which is a nonprofit, and was putting on some edgy productions, right? And, an edgy production where they were bridging the gap between the older generation and the new generation, because you've got to bridge that gap or you're going to lose that art. And they actually hired him in to design their costumes for a production that was coming in this year that was supposed to happen on April 21st, I believe, canceled. But he designed 20 costumes for the whole production. He got paid, thankfully, but those costumes were not seen until most recently at Fashion Week Columbus, right? And then he also designs for Nina West. Nina West is a famous drag queen. She was on RuPaul just recently. She's from Columbus, Ohio. He designs her red carpet dresses and gowns. There are no red carpets going on where she can go to anymore. There are no shows that she can get on right now. Everything's virtual. So his business completely went down, and he had to pivot to mask. Mask is those are the hottest accessories right now, and that's part of his business now. And he saw such an increase in production and in funds for his mask that he definitely is keeping that as part of his catalog. So that's just an example of one of the designers just facing COVID and pivoting, actually.
Yeah. So you help put on Columbus Fashion Week every year. And of course this year it had to be virtual. So I would love to know, how did you get involved in Columbus Fashion Council and Columbus Fashion Week? Where did your journey start working in the local fashion industry?
Yeah, so I actually started in the talent agency business. Back in 2006, when I moved from Dallas, Texas, so I'm a Texan at heart, to Columbus, Ohio, and it was the Heyman Talent Agency, actually. I was running the agency. They have 3 locations, Louisville, Cincinnati, Columbus. And just through the work I did with the models and learning of the designers that we had here, I said, you know what? We're the 14th largest city in the nation, or at that time it was 15th. Why don't we have a fashion week? All the major cities have a fashion week. And we have all these designers, and I keep getting models that want to do runway work. So that's how it started, honestly, and it took off from a 4-day fashion week with 300 people at the finale runway show, which is our grand show, to now, well, not today, but last year, 1,000 people at the finale show, and an 8-day fashion week full of fashion shows and fashion related events. And I think, you know, I don't remember if you asked about, you know, this year. Oh, you did mention the virtual aspect.
Virtual, yeah.
So this year, you know, we almost didn't have Fashion Week Columbus, and our mission as a nonprofit organization through the Columbus Fashion Council is a two-part mission, is to provide scholarships to fashion design students, and is to provide a platform for local and emerging fashion designers. These designers, who are also small businesses, they depend on our platform to launch their brands, to get their name out there, to get clients, to, you know, be connected to buyers and whatnot. There's no other platform in Ohio like that. And so, you know, we just said, you know, we've got to do this. We've got to just pivot as we go along, because at that time, we didn't know what kind of restrictions and guidelines were coming down for COVID and for big events, you know? So we just said, you know what, let's do this. And we just wrapped actually 2 weeks ago. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. But we had 5 fashion shows and 2 virtual panel discussions. And 2 of the fashion shows were, 3 were virtual, fully virtual. Our finale runway show and Macy's fall fashion show were in person. And the finale runway show was also a virtual aspect, or had a virtual component. And we, you know, I'm real strict about making sure we follow the COVID guidelines and restrictions. Even I'm backstage looking at the models, and, you know, the model coordinator, like, they all need to wear masks right now, you know, and make sure they're spaced out. All the seats were spaced out. We had 100 guests in a studio that was about 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. They were all 6 feet apart. You know, the seats were, the models walked one direction on the runway. There was no coming back. And then we did the train. We showcased 6 different designer collections. And then we offered the virtual aspect as well, which was super successful. So that's kind of, you know, what we did. Now, we were questioned a lot by the media, like, because we were the first event really to happen in Columbus, Ohio, since the pandemic. And I didn't realize that actually until the media started asking questions like, well, what are you doing? This is the first event. And it really did worry me, because I don't want our event to spread COVID. So that was one of our biggest worries, but we were super successful. We, you know, implemented a lot of protocols that I think really worked and made people feel comfortable and made them safe.
That's awesome. So you're the founder of Columbus Fashion Council. How many years has Columbus Fashion Council been around?
So Fashion Week Columbus was the first organization I founded as a nonprofit organization under CMH Fashion Week. CMH is our airport code, by the way. And that's our true entity. And that was founded in 2010. And in 2019, the very beginning of 2019, we created the Columbus Fashion Council to be the organization that oversees Fashion Week Columbus now as a program. And we did that because we felt like we wanted to broaden our vision, and we couldn't really do that through the Fashion Week Columbus organization and platform, because it always seemed like we would be butting heads with other fashion weeks or other fashion events, and that just wasn't really the case. But the council gave us a lot more flexibility to really just develop more programs such as Fashion Week Columbus.
Okay. And so how easy was it to get that started, and how did the fashion community respond? I know you've got board members.
Yes.
Do you feel like you have people that want to volunteer?
I mean, honestly, we're almost purely based on volunteers. I mean, you know, I have so many different committees, especially for Fashion Week Columbus. I mean, since 2010, we've provided opportunities and network opportunities for over 2,000 volunteers. You know, and the volunteers really help. They're passionate. My lead volunteers especially, but it becomes a win-win situation. You know, something I tell all of my volunteers is that I want you to come on board, and I want to know what your expectations are of the organization. How can we help you, and how can you help us, you know, the same way. And I have volunteers that have been in committee lead positions for years, and they do amazing work. So yeah, we depend on volunteers.
That sounds exciting. Have you had other cities reach out to you for information on how you did it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Cincinnati has reached out. A city in Georgia. I'm trying to remember which city. It wasn't Atlanta. It was somewhere near Atlanta. And then we've also had other fashion weeks reach out to just partner, especially this last year. You know, Baltimore Fashion Week, Colorado Fashion Week, and Pittsburgh Fashion Week, we all kind of collaborated a bit to help promote each other. Because especially during this pandemic, I think that is one of the ways to succeed, is to really just lift each other up with your local community and then with your other like fashion weeks across the nation, the smaller ones.
Yeah, that's what's so wonderful. I mean, Dee and I know, and Kat, how painful it is to put on a fashion show. So hats off for you guys to do that, because it takes an army of people to make it happen.
It really does. And, you know, surprisingly, I always remind my board, and they know this, at our year-end meeting, that, listen, this production we put on was a $250,000 production. It cost us very little to do because of our partners and our volunteers. That includes makeup artists, that includes hairstylists, and the models, you know. So we're super grateful for all the partnerships that we get to make that happen. And it is a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congratulations for everything you've accomplished in such a short time. So Britta is from Portland, and she went to FIT, and you actually had a very successful career. I think it was with Nike, correct? In athletic wear. And so you guys have a lot going on in Portland. You started your own company, Capital Creative Design. And then, so tell us about your company and then the different community activities that happen in the fashion industry in Portland.
Okay. Yeah. Creative Capital Design is our design consulting studio. So this is almost 9 years old. And my partner and I founded this after we both worked in corporate fashion for many, many years. And we got to a point where we really wanted to just have a little bit more freedom and flexibility, and we're both entrepreneurial. And so we met and we partnered and formed Creative Capital. So we work with small to mid-size companies and do all aspects of design and development. So we have, you know, tech design, merchandising. We spend a lot of time doing drawings and Illustrator, and it's really fun because we work with startups, but we also work with big brands. So it feels really nice, I guess, to be able to support the smaller designer. There are challenges, of course, with both. But that's really what we do. And in Portland here, like Melissa mentioned, it's a very athletic hub here. You know, we've got all the big names, the big brands in the athletic space. So a lot of the people that we work with are former, you know, people from these, you know, Nike and Adidas. And so there's a really great talent pool here in Portland, and we've really become a hub for the athletic apparel industry. So it's a great place to be. I spent the first 15 years of my career in New York City working on, you know, 7th Avenue, doing mass market, Walmart, Target to designer brands, and then moving to the athletics brands, which I've really, really enjoyed. So as far as community here, one thing we did with Creative Capital is I guess we get so many inquiries from younger designers, or maybe it's a experienced designer that wants to go on their own. So we just found ourselves being bombarded with questions all the time. How do you do this? How can I connect with this? How much do you charge per hour for this project? And, you know, who can I get in touch with to, you know, make my goods and all of these things. So we started just having this in the back of our mind, like, how can we share our knowledge, our resources, our connections? Because after you do this so many years, you do tend to build up a really nice community just organically. So spending so many years in New York and then, you know, several years out here, you know, the community for me was East Coast and West Coast, and I'm from the Midwest. So I've got some Midwest folks. And so we launched Inside Fashion Design. It really started as a blog, kind of as a sister brand to CCD, just to start sharing, I don't know, stories, people launching a brand, people looking for resources for education. So long story to make it a little shorter is through Inside Fashion Design, we started holding workshops in person in our studio. And our studio, we have one conference room the most we could hold is maybe like 12 people. I think we had 13 at one of our workshops, and it was crowded. And so we really liked that. It felt very small, very intimate. You could have really good conversations with, you know, the guest speaker. And so we held workshops almost once a month, sometimes twice a month for almost 2 years. And we really found that afterwards, that dozen people or so, they just wanted to hang out because they wanted to connect further. They wanted to network. They wanted to talk to our guest speaker. And so it just kind of naturally and organically started forming this little community. We had people attending from Europe even. I'm not sure even how they found us, but just, you know, Google searching and finding us online if they were in town in Portland, you know, visitors that are coming to maybe work with Nike or something. One of our workshops, we had the entire, well, maybe not everyone, but we had a whole group of Nike bra designers because our guest speaker was a bra guru. So now with COVID, obviously that doesn't happen anymore. And so everything's turned virtual. And we started doing, you know, one big event a year through Design Week Portland. So this year, obviously, you know, it will be virtual. And, you know, talk about finding silver linings in things is originally we were going to have a one-night affair with a panel, you know, with cocktails and the whole thing. But we were flying in people from all over the world. So the cost, the time commitment, you know, logistics of arranging hotels and all of that disappeared. And now we can add more people in virtually. So now our event will be a 3-day event. And we're having guest speakers from Italy, from Argentina, from London, from New York, from Portland. And so this has really given us an opportunity to take the event and really make it a global audience and doing that virtually. So again, that just, it expands your community and offering that you're able to provide for people that are looking for, you know, to be connected and to learn and to just get involved with something. And so for us, you know, there, of course, there's good and bad to both, but COVID has provided us some different and unique opportunities. So we're trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah. And it's called the Ethical Fashion Festival.
Yeah.
And so it's 3 days of fireside chats with speakers, but you're also accepting vendors who have businesses in sustainable fashion and social enterprise to be a part of it as well. How are you, tell us how you're going to do the virtual exhibitions and pop-ups, because that's kind of a new thing that we have to think about now. And it could actually be a great benefit to start having these virtual pop-ups instead of having to have a pop-up so localized in one spot.
Right. Well, for me, one of the biggest causes of anxiety, I guess, was what platform to use for this, because, you know, I'm not technical and Zoom can only offer so much. And so I did a lot of research trying to figure out a platform. And there's a lot of platforms out there that are holding, you know, big events and pop-ups and whatnot. So once I got that figured out and bit the bullet and purchased that platform, my life became so much easier, because now we're actually building everything into this platform. It's very smooth and easy and user-friendly. And so there's actually sections. So there's a section for exhibitors, and the exhibitors can upload imagery, videos of product, a fashion show if they want. It links to their landing page, their website, if they want to promote a certain product. So anyone, literally anyone, can participate by just using this platform to build a little online shop. And our vision for the event really is, and one thing we just love to do as CCD and IFD is really support artisans and makers and marginalized groups, you know, wherever they are in the world. So the event was really built around the United Nations Ethical Fashion Initiative. We have Simone Cipriani as our keynote speaker. So they'll be talking about, you know, their work with marginalized groups in Africa, and they also work in like Afghanistan, some other locations. And So we really want to be able to support that. And so doing this event with the exhibit, you know, we can include all of those folks. And some of them are super, super remote and don't even have a website. You know, if you're talking, you know, some tribal, you know, area in Africa that's doing weaving, they don't have the technology, but through EFI, we can still represent them. We can get some photos. And so visitors and attendees that come can really just learn about different makers and different places to buy things that aren't, you know, mass market, and so how to support those smaller brands. And so we really want to provide that platform, and that's something we're very passionate about, is supporting that. So even like the group in Columbus, you know, if you're even if it's domestic and you're a small design brand, you know, we want to help support that, because I think that's just, you know, the future. And I think customers are looking to buy those more special items, things that are longer, things that are made ethically, sustainably. And so we want to help support those makers and brands, and provide a way to share that with the audience, with the consumer.
And I love that what you're doing with the ethical fashion festivals. It's just 3 days, but all of these exhibitors and pop-up shops, they're actually going to be available for like 6 months, so you can continue to drive people to those companies, right?
Yeah. So we part of the platform that we did, you know, that we're using is it stays on the laptop on a computer for 3 months, and then on your mobile it's 6 months. So anyone that's participating as an exhibitor or a vendor can go back. There is a code to log in, but you log in and you'll be able to watch all the videos of the panel talks, the fireside chats. You can go into the exhibition space. You can see who the vendors in the pop-up are. Exhibitors will also be resources, you know, services and education. We have schools that are being listed in there. So it will be a great resource for several months after that. People can go back and check it out. And we want to make it an annual event, and we've had great response and people asking. So we'll do this, it'll last for 6 months, and then we'll start replacing it with the 2021 version, and hopefully it can just grow into a year-round space for supporting the
Would
makers.
you put in the little chat box the website so people can learn more about the Ethical Fashion Festival?
Okay, yeah, I would love to.
Yeah. So I want to bring in our New York crew, because these ladies are all about partnerships and creating win-win solutions. I know Kat has been working in New York City fashion industry since the 70s, and to me is like the queen of collaborations. She's always doing something cool. So Kat, tell us a little bit about some of the, tell us a little bit about some of the different parts of the New York fashion industry where people are very, very active and collaborative. Right. And, you know, some of the lessons that you've learned that you think other cities could adopt.
Thanks, Melissa, and really appreciate everybody's insights, and what you're all doing is just phenomenal. And I got bit with this diversity bug late in the 70s and 80s when I became a plus size model, because I realized that the industry was very prejudicial and very closed-minded and exclusory. And I felt like I was fashionable and that I needed to kind of open up the diversity aspect of it. And then I realized diversity just wasn't about size. It became age, height, gender, ethnicity. So I became kind of known as the inclusive catwalk person. So every time I would have a show, I would have a different outlier in it. And so I created Runway the Real Way, and that's kind of been the roller coaster that I've been on, and it's brought me to my new mantra, which is I want to do for Mother Nature what I did for the plus size woman. So I am now working with the UN NGO subcommittee on the Sustainable Development Goals, and we're doing an impact award. So we are searching out those entities, products, services, platforms that are contributing and improving to the consciousness of the planet. And I actually took the Climate Reality Project leadership training. So now I'm doing presentations and working with Al Gore's team to kind of get the word out. So I would love to, Britta, I would love to connect with you, especially, and submit you for a nomination for the Impact Awards, because I really feel like the
That's
eco,
so sweet.
yeah, I mean, I'm totally moved by what you're saying, and I love Portland. I've been up there, and it's really where I first heard the word sustainable. I was in a coffee shop, and a biker came by and started talking about sustainability, and I was like, "What's that word? What does that mean?" Wasn't it weird? As like a hatchet to my head, and I kept hearing that word sustainable and tree huggers, and don't you know, they the coffee and the parks and everything that it's like you have a cup of coffee and a dog.
Yep, that's Portland.
And I just love the Pearl District, and I worked with Nordstrom up there, so I really got to love Portland. So I would love to connect with you. I just kind of sent you something on LinkedIn. So
Okay.
yeah, because I'm starting to build a list of people. Then I'm creating an album with a group called Worldtown Sound System out of Philadelphia. So I'm working in the Philadelphia market with the Philadelphia Fashion Incubator program. And we want to do an album on the goals, on the Sustainable Development Goals. So each goal will have a different song. So we've already got freedom and we've already got water done. So we've got 15 more to go. But it's going to be a really great project. And I feel like that's really kind of what my next aspect of my career is going to be, is really adding all of that sustainability in it. And I've gotten a lot less pushback from Mother Nature than I did for the Plus woman. So it's not that it's easy, but it's really been so rewarding for the last few years to do that. So kudos to everyone. I'll be in touch with everybody, and it's just it's an exciting time. It's scary and exciting at the same time. I can't, I go highs and lows, but we're in it together, and I'm joining communities like Fashion Mingle, and it's just a great source of pride, and also just inclusion, that we can all do this together, and we can help build the future and make it sustainable.
Kat, I think I've always felt it so impressive to watch how you started a relationship with an organization like the UN, and it's really grown. And I think in, every fashion community kind of has those, like important foundational organizations that they could partner with that could help expand the message, whether it's growing, your local fashion community, or whether it's sustainability. Tell us how you, first got involved with the UN, and, any tips on how people should reach out to a large organization like that, and what are the expectations when you're working with a large organization like the UN?
That's a great question, and I was asked to do Oceans Day in June, and they were pivoting to become virtual. So I was able to use the designers I had in High Tech Moda and Regen Runway and repurpose that and have a virtual fashion show for the UN with fashion and ocean. And found a drone operator, went out to a pier and did the fashions out on the ocean, and just things started to come along, and the UN really saw me as an idea person, and they're just not easy to work with. And I know that Melissa knows what I'm talking about. It's just, if somebody asks you to take your shoes off when you go to their house, you got to do that. You have to do that. It's like you have to follow their rules, and you have to follow their regulations and their way, even though it may seem a little stodgy and a little non-commercial, and then they will let you do and run with your ideas. So that's kind of my tip, is to play it safe, play it cooperatively, and then you will get a lot for that. You just don't go in with gangbusters and say, we're the fashion business and we're going to change the UN. And they don't want that. But we are now taking the Sustainable Development Goals and the Impact Awards out of the UN, using them loosely, and actually making it more of a commercial venture. So we're having sponsors, we're having people that we're aligning with, and they're allowing, me to do this album. I mean, this is like a We Are the World project, that doesn't get more commercial than that. But my tip is to find someone who's working with the UN and do one small project with them, and do to the letter of the law. Whatever they say you need to do, no bells and whistles, no step and repeats, no photo booths, no, keep it simple. And then they'll ask you back. And then you can start to, give your ideas and have them, embraced. And now I'm an honorary advisor, so I'm in charge of getting the list together of whom I feel are, people worthy of being nominated and submitted for an award. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Well, Sharon, you've actually been on the board of Fashion Group International, and that's an organization that actually does a lot of local organizing in different cities in the United States. I've got some experience with Houston and Chicago, who have been members of Fashion Mingle. Tell us what your experience was like working with an organization like Fashion Group International, and your experience being on the board.
Thanks, Melissa. Yes. So my experience was on the board of New York and Toronto, very diverse and interesting, fashion communities, of course. And it was, it's like being on any board. If anyone's ever been on a board, there's a lot of, as Catherine says, you have to sort of, once you go into an organization that's been long-standing, as, the Fashion Group International has, you have to sort of play by those rules and sort of support, there's always an agenda that has to be met. And of course, making sure that, that we reach out to the community as much as possible, that we give back to the community as much as possible, and that we really give something of value. Otherwise, there's really no point in having, a community organization if the people we're trying to reach don't really find value in it, right? So the ultimate goal of any big organization is giving value to those that are a part of it. And that's the hardest part, year in and year out. How do you create value? And that was, it had its struggles for us as board members, during the time that I was serving, to constantly keep things interesting and enlightening, and offer all the things that the community needs, in order to everyone's giving away their valuable time. Time is so valuable, and to be a part of the community when you have so many options, as you hear today, there's so many different communities. So how do you give your time to a particular community is important. And we wanted to make sure that we reached out and gave as much value as possible with the types of events that we held and the support that we gave to the members. And it is a lot of value and a lot of support. And if you can achieve that, then of course, you're able to continue that tradition of offering those services. But it was, everyone's looking for ideas, but at the end of the day, you are sort of at the mercy of those at the head of the board. I was a board member, but I was not the chair. So, there's always that sort of, there's still, some internal conflicts that you'll have to deal with as any group. I'm sure Thomas can express that. So when you're having those board meetings, there's a lot of ideas that go around, and only one or two of them will get sort of, accepted, and how do you deal with that? And it's sort of a lot of, balancing personalities and ideas. And of course, in the fashion community, everyone has extraordinary ideas, but there's a budget for everything. So you have to sort of manage that too. It's a lot of management, on top of everyone's careers and lives, and this is a voluntary, position. So, there's a lot of time and effort that gets put into these things. So, one tip that I would say is before you go into, wanting to have, be involved in an organization, in any, as a board member or just even a volunteer, know and appreciate that it will take time and effort, and be able to give that, because if you don't, then really, I mean, your time is better served doing other things, if you're not able to fully be involved in what it's asking you to be. There's a lot of involvement with these organizations. And for me, after having my second baby, I at that point, I had to step back and, realize that I couldn't give that time that it needed. And so I stepped back at that point, but, recognizing that it was great to be a part of that community, and see a lot of those ideas come to fruition, and be able to help our members connect and really take back, things of value to them and supporting them. But yeah, as a board member, you want to be mindful of being able to give that time that is very limited in everyone's lives. So,
Yeah, it's a big commitment being a board member, and it's a lot of work. There's a lot of expectations, but the fact that you did serve for a short period of time is wonderful for, I'm sure, for the networking that you got from it, and then also you were able to contribute a lot to Fashion Group International when you were involved.
Yes, it's always enriching to be a part of a community that you obviously have passion towards and want to help. And every time I'm able, and now I'm, sort of like gearing into wanting to go back in and get involved in another organization, because I do miss that. And it's a great way to get creatively, get another outlet. But also, as you mentioned, being able to build on your connections and your resources has been invaluable to me on a personal level, and also for my business as a fashion and branding lawyer. Of course, now, when my clients come to me and ask for, connections to different areas in the community, I know exactly how to address those needs. So it's obviously incredibly invaluable to be a part of an organization.
Absolutely. And Dale, now I know you're very active in women entrepreneur groups in New York City. I know you've been involved in UN activities, but the networking aspect, especially for, the fashion industry is, 70-30 female, male. So, going into women entrepreneur groups is probably a great place to meet other women in the fashion industry. Did you find that?
Absolutely. Many women, especially in New York, and some of the organizations like in Palm Beach, they are very into fashion, and it bridges the gap between, or brings the communities together. So the Women's Entrepreneurship Day is one that I'm on committee, and we definitely connect people in all businesses, and fashion is always included. It's not exclusively fashion, but it's a lot of finance and fashion. And then there's also another Fashion Mingle member who has Women of Wall Street, and that is very much into fashion. From my perspective, having a modeling agency, True Model Management, we have pretty much not all, but many of our clients, most of them are in the fashion business, and they're constantly connecting with us, and we connect them with others. Since COVID, many have pivoted, like you said, to masks or making more tops or different things, and their business models have changed. So we try to help them behind the scenes with connections to foster new relationships and to also bring them more business. So we're always promoting from within and trying to get the word out, and it's been really special to see. A lot of our models have always been in charity, but even getting more charitable and joining more organizations to help connect.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost her. Okay, hopefully she'll come back. Well, I wanted to talk to Dee. Dee does a lot of event planning with, different fashion weeks that she owns the brands of, but also she has a lot of clients that I'd like to talk to you about getting local media, because I know that you have a lot of contacts around the country where you do morning shows. You've got a lot of contacts with regional magazines where you can get your clients or your events in those magazines. Tell us about, give us some tips on how people who are in smaller communities than, of course, New York City, how they should approach their local media to get them engaged in what activities that your local fashion industry is involved in. Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
What about now?
Yeah, you're good now.
I always recommend, I have an extensive list for local, national, and international, but I always recommend anyone who wants to get on a local channel or any local media, I would recommend to use LinkedIn. You could request, if you have a business account or premium account, you can make contacts that way through local reporters in your area, local segment producers, and then just contact them. Now, you don't want to harass them, you don't want to inundate them, but you kind of just want, hey, I love to connect, and then come up with some creative pitches or creative ideas about your brand, about you as if you're a speaker or whoever you are. Like, I would recommend creating some creative ideas and then just sending a very nice introductory email. And sometimes you'll be surprised, you could get a really good response that way. I also recommend
we're having really bad audio from you.
Using e-releases or Newswire or PR.log. Obviously you want to use Cision. The Cision, I feel like it's too expensive. So I love McClure, which is like my favorite, and you can register for free. And then you could also, they do have, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're having really difficult trouble with you going in and out.
I don't know if it's on.
Yeah, could you put the resources that you recommend in the
Can you hear me
chat?
now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying to also register for McClure, which is sort of like Cision, but it's much better, I think. It's cheaper, and they have different programs for different brands, or if you're a journalist, or if you're a product or brand, like
yeah.
Okay.
We've got
the chat.
Wi-Fi. I know Dee moved to a new apartment, so I think we've got some bad Wi-Fi over there. Well, Dee, I know you're always such a wealth of information on different platforms to use and stuff. So anything that you can share in the chat would be so helpful.
Sorry.
That's okay. And then I wanted to, we lost Dale for a little bit, but Dale, I just kind of wanted to go back to, you know, the women entrepreneur groups that you've been involved in, how do you recommend?
I can send an email.
Okay, thank you. Dale, could you tell us, like, do you have any tips on how to find women, female groups, and what people should look for to get involved in those kinds of organizations?
Well, I can really think, reach out to me and everyone at Fashion Mingle. I usually hear about the best ones through word of mouth, but definitely go online and start attending, meeting people online through any different chats. If you read about them and like what they have to say, take it a step further, have a Zoom with them, then, you know, meet for a social distancing coffee or something. But as far as in my situation, a lot of things happen organically, and just keep talking to people and even start your own organization to bring in, you know, like-minded people who want to help others. So for me,
I think that's a really key point, because there are definitely people who love collaboration and want to share their experience and want to, you know, give of themselves, and then there's people that don't. So you have to find the right people, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, volunteer. Try, you know, Women's Entrepreneurship Day, one that I'm active with, it's all volunteers. And just by being in there, rolling up your sleeves, you know, you get to meet a lot of people, and you can see who needs help, who's there to give help, and bridge the gaps, you know, mentoring and finding different partnerships and collaborations. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable stepping out of their comfort zone and don't want to ask for help or, you know, be active in getting involved. So I think it's really just making a step to get involved and putting yourself out there. You know, some people, networking is scary, but if you make the effort, I believe that it will really help you and other people. So
yeah, and two, I found that, like, you might try to put your efforts into volunteering in one place, and maybe that doesn't work out because they're just not good at bringing new people in. So if one opportunity didn't work out, then, you know, look for another, but you know, find the right fit for you.
Definitely keep moving forward, and the more people you meet, you'll find your tribe, and stick with it and keep growing.
Yeah, awesome. So I'd like to wrap up with Samuel, because I know Samuel's really got his pulse on the economy of Austin, and I know that we've talked in the past about you feel strongly that we have to speak as the fashion industry needs to speak as one voice in what local fashion communities need from their government and from partnerships in order to thrive. So can you give us some tips on how to go to your local governments, whether it's, you know, whether it's the schools, the economic development corporations, the partnerships you've got with major companies? How should people approach trying to build those large partnerships?
Let me go back though for a moment, because I'd like to share with you what we're doing in Austin, because I didn't get a chance really to share all of the activities that we have here, and then I'll go into that. We have a group here called Textile Global that we've created for the fashion industry, and we have mixers every week called ATX High Fashion Meetups, and we have those on a weekly, monthly basis, just depending on how often we want to have them. We also have a group here called Trash Makeover, and it's financed by the Texas Campaign for the Environment, and all of our fashion is made from trash. We have a fashion show every year, and there's anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people that show up for that show. We have the Formula One show here every year. Formula One, we have $1 billion Formula One racetrack here in Austin, and we have a show every year. And just to give you an idea, inexpensive table is $10,000, and the expensive tables are $20,000 per table just to get into the show.
Wow.
We have the McCallum Fashion Show every year, and these kids, when I started with them, they have a 700-unit auditorium. They're filling up a 2,400 unit auditorium right now to capacity. They sell it out every season now. These kids are blowing things away. We also share relationships with all the universities throughout, from North Carolina State, Polytech in Italy, Cambridge in England, and we work directly with those universities through the university process that we have here in Austin. The University of Texas has an international division, and the international division, they bring in the Mandela Group every year. So we get to work directly with the fashion designers out of Africa. Then we also have the Latin American group, which come up, and we get to work with the fashion group from Latin America, all through the University of Texas.
We're having lots of, is it me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, so it's all through the international group at the University of Texas. So to answer your question, a lot of what we do is based on the economic development for the city and the state. And those are the two that you really need to start working with. And that's the foundation of it all. Then you tie yourself into the universities. All the universities now are looking for avenues of how to expand their areas of concentration. And then the government comes in and they'll help with any type of grants and things that you need. So your key is to start out with the local and your economic development in the city, and then go to the state. And then the feds will come in after that.
Okay.
As far as the universities, all the fashion departments are all looking for help right now, and they're looking how to get new equipment, how to develop new programs. And that's where I see that we are really making a mistake, because we're not sharing the programs that are being developed at the different universities. So we could do that to help out with each other. One of my projects right now that I really need everyone to support me on is I'm trying to create a small business banking system. Okay, because all this PPP money, some of that needs to be put into a banking system for small businesses. And I'm not talking businesses with, they say 50 to 500 employees. I'm talking about people that have 1 employee to 5 employees. And we need to have a banking system for that group of people right now. Mm-hmm. I can foresee all of the large banks having trouble going forward, period, because of the commercial real estate business is going to have a huge effect on them going forward. But if we could get a financial banking system set up for small businesses right now, that would be the key for us rebuilding this economy. And that's the focus. That's the main thing that I see that we have to do as a group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's going to be so important for small businesses to get the capital they need to get restarted after this difficult time in the economy.
We can't tell you where any of this PPP money went to. And if you saw some of the people that were on the list that got it, and it didn't hit Main Street. And the thing that everyone has to realize, if we don't have a local economy, we don't have a national economy. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I don't care how big you are. You can be an Apple, a Google, and all those guys. And if you don't have a local economy, you don't have a national economy. And we've got everybody, and you want to talk about Austin right now? We've got everybody from Tesla just moved in here. We got Google building a second tower, 24. They've got one 24-story tower. They're building a second one now. Oracle just came in. They built a 5 million square foot facility. They've got another 5 million square foot facility under construction right now. Apple is putting $1 billion facility here in Austin right now. The city is blowing up like you can't even imagine. I don't see us having any effect of whatever happens to the rest of the country with the economy right now, because number one, we're the 8th largest economy in the world.
Austin is. Mm-hmm.
Yes. No,
yeah.
In Austin. The 8th largest economy in the world. Yeah. The other thing is we're the largest exporter in the world. And the key that we have to do right now to sustain ourselves as a country, we have to start making products that we can export.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, and that's going to be the key focus of the government going forward. So as an industry, we have a large part in playing in that, because that's how we reestablish our factories here. And we have to reshore our factories right now. With what the problems that I'm having in China and all over the world right now is logistics. All of our supply chain is broken down completely. So you can have a product going across the line and the buttons of the zippers are not making it to the production line. There's all kinds of issues going on. A lot of my factories are shut down right now because of the pandemic. They're having to sterilize the factories, and then they're having to retool the factories completely. They're having to do this social distancing in the factories now. So most of them are only operating at 25%. So we've got a lot of issues that we're going to have to deal with. But the key is going to be finding the money for the small businesses to be able to build.
Right. And of course,
when you don't have the small businesses, you lose the creative. I'm sorry, am I losing you?
No. I was just bringing it back to, people needing jobs and communities like Columbus and Portland. You've got that infrastructure of those big companies. Thomas, is yours in production as well, or is it that the large the major brands in Columbus are they there? Is it more like the marketing of their stores, or do they actually have production facilities in Columbus?
When you say production, like manufacturing and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
No, most of them are outsourced. There's no really major manufacturing here in Columbus. That's kind of a missing piece to the wheel of the fashion industry here. We've been trying for years. We've had some promises here and there, but nothing. So they do outsource. But everything else, they're hubbed here, they're headquartered here. They do love to go to New York for their marketing and advertising and their shoots. But I do know, like Express, they actually built their own studio a couple of years ago here. I'm like 4 blocks from it, and they shoot all their e-com here. A lot of the businesses do that. So, but production it's not here.
How's the job situation? Did they have to furlough a lot of people?
Yeah.
Has any of that started coming back yet?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been furloughed from all the retailers that are here. I believe A&F is doing pretty well. I mean, given what's going on, from what I've heard, and Express is actually doing decently well as well. But they've all had to let go of employees, and of course, everyone's working from home. I have friends that literally just went into the Express office for the first time yesterday,
Wow.
So, but I mean, if you can work from home, I'm all about that,
Absolutely.
I mean, why?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And Britta, since Portland is such a hub for athletic and leisure wear companies, surely they're booming because that's all people want to buy right now, right?
Yeah, but I think they're still getting faced with all of the challenges that everyone else has. Inventory, they ordered tons of inventory before COVID. So now there's all this inventory sitting in warehouses around the world that they can't sell as fast as they had planned. So designers don't necessarily need to design new product because they're going to have product now for a long time. Okay. So everything is slowed down. And I don't know any stats on, the big companies here, how many they furloughed or whatnot, but everyone I know that are at some of these bigger companies here have been, they are working from home or they have been furloughed. So they're still getting hit just like everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody joining us today. It was such a fascinating discussion. I know each one of you are just a wealth of information in so many areas. So I encourage you to, if you want anyone to reach out to you, put your email in the chat. Also, if you are a member of Fashion Mingle, you can actually reach out to all of these people are Fashion Mingle members, and you can reach out to them on chat through the Fashion Mingle system. So we hope that, we've expanded your understanding of what a local fashion industry can be, and giving you some ideas on how to grow it in your own city. So, thank you everybody for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Thank
you.
you.
Melissa, thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.